Treadmill Trainer Talks, Episode 1, Treadmill 101.
The treadmill very well may be the most popular piece of cardio equipment ever created. Nowadays we've got the Peloton, we've got bikes, but those are creations of the pandemic. But the treadmill has been here for forever. It is tried and true. The treadmill has the most real world carryover. What I'm doing on this treadmill right now is I'm walking. Guess what you do every day? You walk every single day. Unless you wake up and you stay in your bed for the entire day and you never move, you're going to be walking at some point. You walk to the bathroom, you walk to your car, you walk into your job, you walk around the grocery store. Unless you're in a position where your legs don't work, which is possible, then you're probably walking. So the real world crossover for a treadmill is the best. Something like a bike, you're not biking all the time. You're never going to be in a position where you're doing something like the elliptical. That's not how we move around. But all those pieces of equipment, same thing with the treadmill, are going to be great for boosting your cardiovascular system. You might be wondering, if I walk around so much, why do I need to go on the treadmill? I think a good way to think about it is to think of a sport. Whenever you play a sport, there's a competition, there's a game of some sort. If you want to get better at that game, you want to be more competitive, you got to practice.
But we talking about practice, man. What are we talking about? Practice?
Shout out to you, Allen Iverson. Unless you're a competitive speed walker, there's no competition for walking. You might not notice this when you're walking out to your car, or you're walking to work, or you're walking through the grocery store. But if you go for a big hike, or you go to vacation at Disney World, there's a lot of fucking walking at Disney World. You might walk for so long that you get gassed, even though walking is a pretty low intensity thing. So if you walk and you practice on a treadmill, your walking is going to be so much more efficient. More importantly than that, this guy, not my logo, but my heart, is going to be more efficient at working and creating the system to move. If your heart is more efficient, the entire body is more efficient and you're healthier. It's kind of like that gauge in your car that has the RPMs. There's a reason why some of those numbers are red, because if you get to that point, your engine is working way too hard in that moment, your car's going to explode. I don't know if your car's going to explode, but you're definitely going to break down probably. So all the time you spend on the treadmill is going to be great for making your heart more efficient and your walking more efficient so you don't gas out as often. One of the things I get asked about all the time is, what is the best piece of cardio equipment? Is it the treadmill? Is it a bike? Is it a Stairmaster? Ultimately, the treadmill is going to be the most weight bearing. As I'm walking on this right now, I'm not holding anything. Every single step I take, I'm bearing the weight of my body. Versus something like a bike where I'm taking a seat and half of my body weight, not half, I don't know exactly how much it is, but a good portion of your body weight is taken by the seat. So it is entirely possible that on a minute-to-minute basis, you burn more calories on a treadmill than something like a bike that's not as weight bearing. That being said, the bike is probably easier, so you could probably bike for longer than you would be on the treadmill. So if you bike for 35 minutes, but you can only be on the treadmill for 10 minutes, there's a pretty good chance that those calories just even out. And ultimately, I don't care if you burn 1,000,000 calories on a treadmill, if you fucking hate the treadmill, you're not gonna do it. There's no best piece of cardio equipment, but the treadmill has the most real world applications. Like I said earlier, you walk everywhere. Last but not least for this video, I'm going to talk about the console. You guys can't see the console on my treadmill, but there's a bunch of different numbers on here that might be important to you. Or maybe they're unimportant. The speed is pretty obvious. If I pump it up, I'm going to go faster. Depending on where you are in your fitness journey, if you're a beginner, there's a pretty good chance that you might not go past like 3.5. That's typically walking speed. If you walk into the gym for the very first time and you go to a treadmill and you start running immediately on that treadmill to see where you are, there's a pretty good chance it's going to be way too difficult. You might not ever do the treadmill ever again. If you're a beginner, walking is going to be a great option for you until you can build up to that point. Anything past that, a jog or a run, it's totally going to be dependent on your goals and your fitness journey. Secondly, elevation. Elevation is going to change the incline of the treadmill. Right now at a 0.0, I'm walking relatively flat. It's kind of like walking on the ground. If I were to boost the incline, the treadmill is going to raise and I'm going to be walking on a hill essentially. One of the things that I see in the gym pretty often is when people go on the hill, they kind of like hold these handles. You can't see the handles in this video, but they hold the handles. While the handles might be great for stability and balance, the whole point of putting up the elevation or the incline on a treadmill is to make it a little bit more harder. It's kind of like you're walking up a hill. Gravity travels downwards. So if you're walking flat, you're walking kind of perpendicularly to gravity. That means walking is not that difficult. If you up the incline of your walk, now you're walking a little bit more parallel to gravity. You're directly fighting gravity. That's what makes it harder. But if you grab these handles and you now match your body to the incline that you've set, and they're kind of like this, now you're completely parallel. It's the equivalent of walking at a 0% incline. So if you want to up the elevation on your treadmill, most important thing is to keep your hands off. That's not to mean that you can't hold it for a little bit of balance or stability or whatever, but if you're matching the grade and the intensity, not the intensity, but the incline of your treadmill, you're negating the effects of the incline. Last but not least, you've got time and you've got distance. Both of these things are going to be totally dependent on your speed and how long you plan on going for. Sometimes people get so caught up in these numbers that they kind of fall off because they feel like they have to hit a certain number, and if they don't get there, then what's the point of doing it at all? But sometimes it's just as easy as turning it on and walking for a little bit, and then kind of build your momentum, build your comfortability with the machine, build your cardio, and you can keep on moving. And that wraps up episode 1 of Treadmill Talks with the Trainer. Make sure to hit that subscribe button where you're watching on YouTube, and follow me on Instagram at MTFit. I'll see you guys in episode number 2.